How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with Morgan Pearson. He is a professional triathlete and two-time Olympian from Colorado. We talk about a number of different things, those including the loss of his brother. So that was a very meaningful conversation. Lots of things to pull out from there as far as tidbits and advice. We talk about his experience with the Olympics, with going to be doing his first 70.3 Indian Wells here coming up in just a few weeks, and so many other things. But really appreciate Morgan taking the time, even though he just moved, to jump on and allow me to ask him some questions and just get to know him a little bit. He's a great guy, obviously is a deep thinker and a very talented athlete. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Mr. Morgan Pearson. I guess the one question that we can dive into first, to try to get the blood flowing a little bit in the brain, and just it's kind of a heavy question. So I guess maybe I should apologize because I know you're going through so much stress right now. This might be a kind of a heavy one, but for you and all the things you've done and the places now that you have lived, who is Morgan Pearson?
Uh, right now like I think for if I was to write like a bio, short
Hmm.
couple sentences, I'd just say Olympic triathlete for Team USA. Um, Currently, coming off the Paris Olympics, and uh, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot more to me, but uh, that's kind of my job right now, and it's my
Hmm.
passion, and um, yeah, I mean, I hope there's more to me, but uh yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's not really for me to, describe my personality or my attributes, but I'd rather just describe what I do and what I'm focused on right now. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Is it because it makes you uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I don't know. I mean, also it's really hard to do. I think like most people there's like many sides to
Yeah.
people, for me, I know a lot of people um who don't really know me are actually, intimidated by me. I don't know why, but maybe just I've been told I have like I don't know, like my face is kind of angry looking and all that. So
Resting angry face.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, I think if you don't know me, and I'm pretty serious about my training and about I take it very seriously. So if you
Hmm.
just see me on the outside, I think a lot of people would just be maybe, you know, what's wrong? Like, why is he so angry? I'm not angry. It's
Yeah.
just my face. But I think
Yeah.
once you get to know me, there's a goofier side, a fun like a goofier side. I like to, I like to make lots of jokes. I like to make fun of
Hmm.
myself. And I just think like if the people that are close to me know that side of me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's hard to, it is a bit of an awkward question, but maybe
Yeah.
you'll get a feel.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I appreciate you taking the let me ask that, because yeah, I think it is difficult for people to answer. I've never had people ask me that per se, especially in a context like this. So I can see how it can be a little nerve wracking. Because nobody likes. I mean, we all like talking to a degree about ourselves. I think if people ask us questions, but at the same time, if we're like kind of having that internal battle, like how do you be humble, versus the pride, the ego, that kind of stuff, it can be hard to kind of figure out how to balance the two.
Oh, totally. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, people who know me know me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So with the humor side, I have followed you for a while, so I see from what's literally only out there because I don't know you super personally yet. But there is the humor side of the. I think you're known for like this zone two or normalized heart rate data and things like that. So where does that come from for you? Like obviously it's making fun of self a little bit, poking fun at the industry, but what kind of motivated you to start doing that? It's such a trademark thing.
The zone two or like the trolling.
Both.
Uh yeah, so like the zone two is actually not a troll at the beginning. Like I literally posted a workout that I did that my coach gave me and
Mhm.
I just because I started posting a lot about a year ago, just like
Mhm.
my season ended a bit early. I've been dealing with some back injury stuff, and
Mm.
I just wanted to really focus on the Paris Olympics. So I kind of shut down my season really early, or not really early, but mid September, and
Sure.
I just I have some sponsors and stuff like that, and I was just like I just felt like I wasn't like I wanted to bring some value to them, um, and just try, try to treat the whole social media thing a bit more professionally. So I mean, obviously there is an element of trolling and not taking myself too seriously, but I think that's okay. I
Sure.
just in
Yeah.
terms of just like posting stuff and sharing my sponsors and kind of putting them out there in that way. Um, so like I was doing random ones, and then I started the zone 2 stuff was I think the first one I did was like a bike session, 2 hours at like 278 watts or I don't know something like over
Yeah.
250, but not 300. Which like honestly,
Mhm.
that's what my coach gave me. Like I think I was on the upper end. Like I think he gave me a range, and it was like the upper end. I went on the upper end, which like
Mhm.
I normally do for that sort of thing. And I don't
Sure.
know, people it just like went crazy, and you know, well, at least for me, like it was people seemed to think it was a troll or was I was lying or
Yeah.
was interesting, and I don't know, man. It just
Sure.
kind of popped off, and then I started posting about my zone 2 long runs, which is like something I've been doing for um since college. I mean, not that I was always calling them zone 2, but I think just like I heard you know the Samalon Pogachar's old coach talking about
Mhm.
zone 2, and it was like the way he was describing it was just like, or it was the other guy, the Peter Attia, one of those guys, or maybe it was their
Yeah.
conversation.
It was probably Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's literally how I like treat my long runs. Like the effort they were talking about, like you have a conversation, but like maybe it's the sentences are slightly broken up. So that's
Mhm.
kind of how I started posting the long runs, and then yeah, I mean, some of them are certainly I start to troll a little. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know, people, it's funny, and I think it does go back to like I try not to like take myself too seriously. I mean,
Sure.
we're at the like I said, who is Morgan like pro triathlete Olympic like it sounds cool,
Sure.
but at the end of the day, it's like kind of a goofy thing to be doing with
Mhm.
my life, and I enjoy it, and so that's for me. It's I enjoy it, and um, so that's great. But it is kind of like it is goofy, and to be able to make
Mhm.
fun of um oneself and honestly others is I think important. Like I
Yeah.
think comedy and humor is like I think it's just part of life. I
Mhm.
remember like back in 2020, we're coming off this election, but back in 2020, like it was the COVID, when COVID was like at the height, and
Mhm.
there's like the Black Lives Matter, um, the
The whole
riots,
movement.
and like
Mhm.
obviously the Joe Biden versus Donald Trump election,
Mhm.
and you go on Twitter and everything was just like negative or like it was just like insane, man. Like I'm just
Cesspool.
yeah. So like what I did was I just started making these dumb polls, and I would just say question because you can make polls on Twitter. I don't know if you still can. I don't
Mhm.
really use it as much, and
Yeah, you
I
can.
was just like two like peanut butter or jelly or like dogs or cat like like I was just like I'm just gonna put this stuff out there because people
Mhm.
need like something that's lighter and funnier, and
Mm.
maybe it's not. To me it was funny, and it's like I'm just like trolling Twitter, like my not even trolling. I'm just like it just needs to be like lighter, and not everything needs to be so serious. I mean,
Yeah.
that serious stuff's that's part of life too, but like you can't be 100% serious 100% of the time. It's not a good way to live. So I don't know. I think that's part of it too, and just yeah, like the normalized heart rate. You brought that up. that was just a total troll. I was just like,
Yeah, that's
I was gonna make
hilarious.
up a stat and just see what people say. And some people were
Yeah,
like, some people got it, some people didn't. Others probably just went over their heads. So yeah, man,
yeah,
I'm trying to have some fun with it. Um, kind of, crack, make, Molly, my girlfriend's like, no one laughs more at my jokes than me. So yeah, like a lot of
yeah,
times it's me like laughing to myself.
yeah,
Some people might find it funny, some people might not. So that's that.
yeah. Yeah. So a couple of things that's really I think funny and interesting about both things that we talked about, kind of the polling, the value of adding back in comedy, and then also what you were saying about the zone two and the trolling and stuff. From the outside looking in, so someone who's not as obviously whatever you want to call it, gifted, talented, skilled as you are whenever you're coming into the sport. I think because there's a lot of people that are kind of starting to dabble into the quote unquote run clubs, and then they'll come across Morgan Pearson and they see that. It's like, they're like, wait, what? Because like your recent run, I think the half marathon you did in like 1 hour, 1 minute and some change, right? And when I saw your pace, like I was like, there's no way. And then I went and looked, I was like, sure enough. So like, it's shocking to the everyday
Yeah, yeah.
human,
Well, it's
but then you see,
I will be honest. I have made up certain workouts, like not many, but like a few. But most of the stuff I put up is real. And I mean the zones, who knows exactly if I'm in the right zone or not. But for the most part,
sure,
it's like pretty serious. But yeah, I agree. People think they're like, there's no way you can run like 10 miles at like 5:15 pace or whatever. I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't. Like that's actually not that,
that's what I
it's
do.
solid, but like it's just funny. I agree. People like, I don't think they realize. So for me to go run the half is like, it's like kind of like, yeah, look what I can actually do in a race. Like I could actually go a lot faster.
Yeah. Did you when you did that, and then I'll ask a question about the polling thing for a second. But when you did run that race, did you go into it like with something to prove a little bit to like show like, hey, I can actually lay down these times? Were you trying to
Um,
prove something to yourself, or what was your thought?
well, like for me, the biggest thing was just because I did the grand final, WTS grand final the weekend before, and I actually ran like crap. Um, I don't remember my time, but I think I was like 15th fastest time, maybe the 16th
Hmm.
fastest time. And I mean, part of that was like I actually a motorcycle ran into me. And
Oh,
it
sheesh, man.
like I really felt crappy. Like my whole body kind of felt really bad after that. But even so, like even if that didn't happen, I don't think I was like throwing down a crazy run or anything. Um, so like it was for me, it was just like I needed to prove that like I was actually a good runner and I could run well and I was in good run shape. And yeah, like I wanted to break 61 actually. So I actually came up a bit short, but to run that, 61 low is still pretty close to my goal. And like, yeah, it's good. I
Yeah,
mean, I proved to myself more than anything, like I was in good run shape. The training I've been doing was working. I mean, honestly, the time was probably worth a little bit faster based off some of my tactics and the weather. So yeah, I mean, it certainly was a bit validating that just like I, my run fitness when it comes to running off the bike is not. There's something else going on.
hmm.
It's not necessarily like that pure run fitness of why I'm not,
Able to hit
slightly
it.
more consistent running one of the faster splits. So yeah, in some ways it's like validating. In some ways it's actually a bit frustrating. You can imagine you get off the bike and you feel really strong on the bike, and there's a breakaway of 4 or 5 guys, whatever, up the road, but to to end up 16th place and like, and then a week later you go around 61 flat, like it's like, come on.
Yeah, you're scratching your head a little bit.
So in some ways it's a bit frustrating, but also that's triathlon. It's a puzzle you got to
Yeah,
figure out. So for me, there's some positives and some negatives.
yeah. Have you felt, or have you ever felt, or do you feel somewhat painted into a corner when it comes to the expectation of what Morgan's future is? In that you're kind of forced to a degree to go into triathlon, or would you
No.
ever consider like, oh, I want to go run and just run?
Yeah, I mean, after Valencia half, I a lot of quite a few people were like, "Oh, you could just become a runner." And I like triathlon, man. I think it's like
Yeah,
I think it's a misconception about me because I've been pretty inconsistent with my results over the past couple years of like I
sure,
don't like it. I think a lot of people think, I only train to run fast. I don't train swimming and biking and like honestly that's just not true.
sure.
Um People like as much as I put out on social media, I don't, I don't it doesn't really paint a picture of what I'm actually doing. I think it's just it's a little like it's giving a taste, but it's not, I'm not painting a picture of what I'm doing and how I'm
Everything that's going
training.
on.
I mean, I could tell you some of my weeks over the winter and spring paying for Paris, and like you'd think I'm not running, you would think it's more of a swim focused program or a
Hmm.
bike focused program or like obviously the run is important to me and it's important to the triathlon and but it's
Sure.
not like so in terms of like doing triathlon and yeah, I mean there's certainly some expectations, but I'm taking this period of my life to kind of figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
We talked about the grand final and the half marathon, and I'm actually doing my first 70.3 next
Indian
next month.
Wells.
Yeah, so I just got the bike. I'm just, second ride on it or third ride on it today. So yeah, I have low expectations of myself. Um,
It's a good place to be,
yeah, I have
I
low
think.
expectations of myself, but I'm just gonna see if I like it. I don't need to plan out the whole next phase of my career yet. Like I can kind of take it day at a time or, race at a
Mm,
time. And I also think like it's okay to kind of have your own path. Um, I think for me, like I enjoy doing the running races. I mean, I did a US cross country in January of this year and I did well. I got fourth. And honestly, that was a great race for me because it kept, I like I mentioned a bit earlier, like I entered on my season 2023 a bit early, so I wanted something to get me motivated to train
yeah.
and like get in shape and like it wasn't like it was just, if you're in really good triathlon fitness, you could still run well. So I was
Mm,
obviously focused on triathlon, but it was there's no triathlons in January. So
yeah.
it was a nice race to just keep me motivated and I enjoyed it and I think, if I'm gonna continue triathlon, but maybe I'll do some more running races sprinkled in
Mm,
there. I think it's possible, it's possible.
yeah. So if you could do everything you're doing right now, nothing would change, but erase the social media and erase the following and the notoriety you have. It still keep all the sponsors, still do like still kind of live your life, but have that removed and you're out of the public eye. Would you do it?
Uh, it's funny. I don't really feel like I don't feel like I have much notoriety or, people care, to be honest. So it's like I
Sure.
don't think it like would change anything. I mean, obviously, like a lot, sponsor. I think sponsors are there for performance, but I think it really helps to treat that profession like treat the social media stuff professionally. So I don't,
Sure.
in terms of their eyes, like yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to just rock up to a race and not have social media and just crush it and get sponsors, but um yeah, it's just not the world we live in, so it's kind of weird to think about and to be honest, I don't feel like there's some following or anything like that. I mean, uh
Yeah, 30,000 people's nothing, man. What are you talking about?
yeah, but yeah. Yeah, no, like it's yeah, but I just like it's just not that stuff I really don't think like goes to my head at all. I think it's because for me
It's
it's
good.
like there's just so many bigger names in triathlon than me. Like in my mind, I'm like, I'm still trying to like make it a little, like you got guys that are consistent, being on the podium of every WTS or like maybe not everyone, but
Mhm.
like they're on the end of season the end of season podium or like guys that are winning Olympic medals and um stuff like that. Where it's like for me, it's like I feel like I still have stuff to prove, and like I've underperformed. So that's just how I feel. And the whole, people, it is cool. Like every so often, people, shout zone two or something. Like I like that. I think it's cool. Um,
Yeah.
in Spain, like people were shouting that, and yeah, it's fun. So I don't know.
So let me go back to the polling question for a second. You mentioned something, during COVID, 2020 elections, the BLM movement, Joe Biden, Trump. You were kind of putting something out into the world to bring things to a little bit of a lighter tone.
Yeah,
Are
totally.
you are you trying to do that now with the current situation of that we find ourselves in?
Um, I probably would. I honestly, my Twitter got like hacked about a year ago, and like I
Ah,
wasn't really even
sheesh.
on it. Um, like I barely was on it, but like my friend messaged me like or texted me or something that my Twitter got hacked. So I went through that process of like getting it unhacked,
Reporting and all that.
but uh I probably would be if I was using Twitter more, but I just don't. I don't know, man. I think with the amount that I've been trying to do Instagram post pretty frequently, so I think it's just like for me, like that's kind of the route I went. So
Hmm.
I probably would be, but um, I don't know, man. I think, yeah, hopefully, yeah, hopefully everyone's okay and can calm down a little.
Yeah, I mean, tell me your opinion. Like, what's your thoughts on everything that's going on right now? Like, it's a crazy time to be alive. I even if we do disagree, by the way, like I don't value any less. Like, I'd be just straight curious to know like what you're thinking.
I mean, honestly, I was for me, I felt like I thought that Trump wasn't gonna win until like maybe like a week ago. It felt like he might win, and
Really?
yeah, like I just got this. I'm not. I'm very like I'm probably the least political person, but
Mm-hmm.
I just some like hearing kind of just being like a fly in the wall, observing other people's conversations and stuff like that. Like I wasn't surprised because I mean I didn't know I think I went to bed not knowing who won. When we woke up, Trump we found out Trump won, and I think I was not surprised. So yeah, I mean hopefully no matter what, like everyone can you know be positive and get along and be nice to
Yeah,
each other. I know that's very cliche, but it's just like for me, it's like that's how I feel. I don't, there's
sure.
not a lot of, we can. I don't see a reason to like have this divisiveness. But yeah, what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm a Olympic triathlete, not a politician.
Oh, we lost your video there for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah.
Oh, there it goes. Um, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I'm 31.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm 32. We're pretty similar.
yeah.
I'm curious, as you've gotten older now, like we're in our 30s. We've hit peak wisdom. We're starting to finally understand ourselves, and we're looking back at our parents and the lives that we lived and the choices that we made. I think there's an age of reasoning that comes when we start to really analyze where we've come from, and there's things we're really thankful for, things that we're not sure of, things that we're not thankful for. For you, have you done any kind of self-analysis to look back and pick apart like how your family has shaped who you are now, the values you hold, the things that you subscribe to, the actions you make?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I mean, that's a deep question. Could probably spend all day thinking about that stuff, but I mean, yeah, like my family. I've had a unique family. Just like I mean, everyone's family is unique, of course.
Sure.
Everyone has like problems within their family growing up, and I don't. It's not like a competition, but for me, it's just like I honestly had a crazy. There are some crazy times growing up. I don't really want to get into them with you, but just you know, just there's some crazy stuff that happened to my family. You know, this my older brother passed away a few years ago, unexpectedly, and
Mm,
stuff like that where it's just like Uh, yeah, I mean, it shapes you, you know? I think, just speaking about my brother, like, I think that's a huge part of who I am today, you know? Like, I know personally, like, it changed me, um, hopefully for the better, but, you know, and just, yeah, like, I think everyone's family shapes who they are, and, I have, you know, and I can even talk about silly stuff, like so I had obviously my older brother, and then I have 2 younger brothers, no girls in the
Hmm.
family, and, and,
Wild times.
yeah, and then also, we went to all boys school I started in 7th grade, all boys school, so,
Wow, wow.
yeah, like, just stuff with girls, like, honestly, it just, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say I was, like, the smoothest guy with the ladies, and I would like to think it's more a product of, you know, growing up all brothers and then going to all boys school for 6 years. It's
Yeah,
like and, like, not just any 6 years, those years where you're kinda, like, start talking to girls and all that, so, just stuff like that where it's like,
yeah,
I have a lovely girlfriend now and, all that stuff, but, there's just even little things, like, about women that I just you would think that it's like, I think some think it's obvious, but to me, it's just like no one ever I didn't learn that.
yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, I don't know, stuff like that.
so were you kind of the guy with the pickup line, like, "Hey, nice feet," or like, "Hey, how much do you weigh?" Like, do you have any
Yeah,
moments that you
like
just think back on? They're like, "Oh, that's cringy."
yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, like, I realized, for me, like, my best bet to, for a girl to, like me was just when I wasn't acting like it'd almost be like I would get intimidated by, a pretty girl or, I would
Sure.
act
Who
weird.
hasn't felt that
Yeah,
way?
like I would treat like I would act weird, like, oh, like I would overthink, like, oh, how much should I text her? How much should I text? But like when I just it's cliche, man, but when I was just like myself, like for example, my girlfriend now, Molly, like when I first met her, I just was like, I didn't really think there was like a chance. Like I just was like, this girl won't be into me. She's just she's out of my league, basically. Um, and I just think about like I just was like able to be myself. Wasn't I treat her like every other I treat every other person, and I think that that worked to my benefit. Um, because I was just probably more relaxed, come off a bit more
Sure.
cool and stuff like that. So yeah, my advice. I don't know if you're asking for advice, but just like
Oh yeah, bring it on.
if you like a girl, just treat her like anyone any other person. Like and yeah, I think that's your best bet because honestly,
Sure.
you want to be able to be yourself around them anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's a temptation to want to put our best foot forward and then kind of put on a fake picture. But I can attest, especially after you're with somebody for more than 3 years, and we're going on 7.5 now. Everything kind of comes out in the end
Uh,
after you're living with each other. You're like, oh, I won't fart in front of my girlfriend. Now it's like, oh, that's all I ever do, or whatever.
yeah,
Like any of
yeah,
that stuff
yeah, totally.
totally
So
becomes normal.
yeah, man. So yeah, like like the all boys. I joke about the all boys thing growing up, and like um, yeah, man, that definitely shaped me with girls and relationships
Hmm.
and that sort of thing. I think I was a little bit
Yeah.
behind some of my peers.
Yeah. That's okay. The joke in my circles was a lot of friends ended up being like homeschooled, so that's like the joke we throw around. It's like, oh, yep, they're homeschooled.
Yeah,
They'll learn. They'll come up the curve a little bit later. But yeah, it's true. There's things you miss, and there's positive and negative. I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of crazy stories of boys fighting and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like we did as a kid, shooting arrows up in the air and like,
yeah,
oh, where's it at? Oh, we don't know.
yeah,
So
yeah, totally. It's good times. I'm not complaining.
yeah. No, yeah, for sure. So, I know you said some of the stuff you don't want to go into. You did mention your brother. Is it okay if I ask questions about that?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't want to answer it, I won't. But
Okay. I love it. So, I guess it's been like 3.5 years. Just for context for you, like I lost my dad when I was 16. So, I'm somewhat familiar with loss. However, I've never lost a sibling, so there's obvious differences there. And then when you're all boys, this was your older brother. Yeah, so like there's a whole different dynamic there. Um, 3 years is not very long, and I think that sometimes people expect us to like after the first year, kind of you get over it or whatever. But I noticed for me, like I go through these cycles that really took me like 5, 7 years to like really start to like understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling, or things like I just would not remember. Just all of a sudden, I'd feel bad, and it would like hit me
Yeah.
that, oh, maybe it's because of this. So like, how are you? How are you doing? Like that's a tough thing to go through.
Yeah, no, it was really hard. I mean, honestly, it's like it was extremely hard and, it's obviously I'm still not over it. I mean, I don't think I ever will be, so,
Sure,
um, yeah, I think similar to you, like, there's times where it kinda hits you a little bit more. Obviously I think about him every day, but it's not like I'm crying every day or something like that, but, um,
sure.
there's there's certain times where you're just like you feel it more, I'd say, um, and it's just like, whether it's like, you do something, maybe I go to a restaurant that we used to go together with, or,
Mm,
I have, some of his friends, that became mutual friends over the years, like, see them and talk to them and stuff like that, or just, yeah, stuff like that where you kind of like what I personally, I don't know about you, but there's times where I'm like, I wonder like how our lives, where would my life be if he was still around, or where
mm,
would his life be if he was
yeah,
still around? Um, so yeah, I mean, it's hard. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
luckily I got, you know, the rest of my family's still around, and they're all, loving, and we could, I feel like we have a healthy, like we can talk about Andrew, and
mm,
it's not like taboo or something like that, which I think which also helps. Um,
yeah,
over the summer, actually in Paris, like it was pretty funny because my brothers and one of my best friends from high school, uh, came out, and my mom and my friend was, they're all kind of staying near each other in Paris, and so after the race, we do the individual, we do the relay, and like you can imagine, there's quite a bit of like decompression, like relax. For me,
mm-hmm,
like I was probably on that serious side of myself before the race. I was very serious. And then after the race, like I kind of like I felt more relaxed, and that goofy side was probably coming out a bit more. And after we had like a team event the day after the relay, I think, or the day of the relay. I don't remember. The staff, the other athletes, a lot of their family members, stuff like that, and I was just being a clown. Like I was goofing around, and we're in France, man, and they have like they're like really into hors d'oeuvres there, but they don't have like real meals.
okay,
So like they just like and like we just race like we were up at
hard,
4, we did this race. It's just like it's a you're hungry, man. You're and also just like we all like just want to have a normal dinner. So I was just like I just ordered like a bunch of pizzas there, and like was just goofing off. And like I wasn't there, but I heard about it after, but some of the other girls on the team, the 2 Taylors were
mm-hmm,
like talking to my friend Adam, or my brothers, and we're just like, "Morgan's like so much goofier than everyone on like how like what was it like putting up with him growing
oh
up?"
boy,
And they were just like, "Morgan is like you should have met his older brother. Like he was like the ultimate class clown."
mm,
So stuff like that I like that story. Just hearing people talk about him, and that means a lot to me. Like when people talk
yeah,
about him, and just like what how because he was a funny guy, a really funny
yeah,
guy, and just like hearing how they made him, how he made them laugh, and that sort of thing. That means the world to me. So uh,
yeah. Yeah. So a couple of things, like you asked, like, do I ever have I ever wondered? I mean, for me, I do all the time. So
yeah,
like I was 16 when that happened. So I was also a late bloomer, kind of awkward with girls there for a while. So I don't think I truly started to like become a man until I was probably honestly like 19, 20, if we're being real honest. Um, and so as I've progressed, it used to be like just a horrible thing, obviously, for many years. And then as I started to become an adult, like I started to see that more of the positives out of it, of like the things that good that come out of it. But it definitely took a long time. And I think it's a little different because, as my dad. And so there's things that I do
Yeah,
now, like with this
but
podcast,
he's still
that I would
young,
love
you
to
know?
show him. Yeah.
It's like, like, that's young. It's not I mean, it's different,
Yeah.
but it's not like, it's not like you're in your 60s or something and he
Right.
passed away, so
Yeah. Yeah. But I can definitely see how you feel that way because, like, I assume you looked up to your brother quite a bit. I don't know how much older he was than you, but being able to like share the successes and the cool things and the fact that you now have a girlfriend and you're not awkward, like that kind of stuff would probably be really fun to share.
yeah. No, I mean, honestly, like, I'm really because one thing that means a lot to me is actually Molly met my older brother a few times,
Oh,
which is
nice.
like, I don't know, that's really cool for me, um, and, we can she didn't meet him a lot, but she can talk about him and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just like
Yeah.
a figment of her imagination or whatever, so
Mm.
yeah, man, I
Yeah.
get it, and, like, just yeah, I mean, I'm sorry about your dad and all that, like and like I said, like,
Oh,
that's
thank you.
young, 16, I can't you know, it's just so young to and your dad's young too, so that's really sad.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now that we're in our 30s, like my dad was 39, so it's thinking about it. It's like the closer I get to that age, I realize like, wow, I remember when my mom turned 30,
Yeah.
let alone, my dad being 39, and I realized like how much we as 30-year-olds really don't even have a clue still. Like we're still trying to figure out what life is and we will forever.
Yeah,
But yeah, man,
totally.
I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
But it's been a blessing. Like I think when you go through something like you've gone through, you have the ability to connect with people that have gone through hard things that nobody else will be able to have. So I think that's huge, a huge positive from it as
Yeah,
well.
and, like, not to well, I mean, the whole, like I think it does help me, like and I'm sure you're the same, like, there's this serious people think, like, there's, like, serious things, um, like, I mean, the election is serious, but, like, from a
Sure.
personal standpoint, like, I would most people are not their lives are not drastically changed by whoever won. I mean, I know mine
Right.
between, like, Trump and then Biden, that, like, my life feels about the same. Obviously there's changes in my life,
Yeah.
but from like the political side, I wouldn't say my life. And I'm sure I don't
It's pretty
foresee,
far removed.
yeah, I don't foresee my life changing drastically again. So obviously the election is important. I'm not trying, whatever. I'm not trying to take away from it, but
Sure.
when you deal with something like that, I think it just gives you perspective
Mm,
of like there's stuff in life that like really stinks.
yeah.
Um, losing a parent when you're 16 is one of them. Losing a brother
Mm-hmm.
when he's 29 is one of them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, the person you wanted to win the election losing is like it stinks, but
Yeah.
it's not gonna like you can be
You can
you
still
can
be
move
you.
forward and not let it
Yeah.
define you. So
Yeah.
that's just I mean maybe
Yeah.
that's why I'm like not super into politics. I've dealt with some of this
Yeah.
stuff where it's just like I don't know.
No, I see what you're saying. I think that 100% it gives you perspective. I think that's why, you know, people that go to things like war, veterans, and they come back, and some of them it's very hard to assimilate. But once you see things, the hardest pain you've ever felt is the hardest pain you've ever felt. So whether that's breaking your leg in half or getting a splinter in your finger, like it still feels painful.
Totally.
But until you have that perspective of the next level, it can be very difficult to kind of stand back, which I think is something that, yeah, like our culture unfortunately has lost over the past time is
Yeah.
because when you dive into affluence, because me and you both, if we have kids, we honestly want to give them the best possible life. But then there's also this two-sided coin where people who have the affluence and you aren't exposed to maybe not having food on the table every day or whatever, you adversity and like it precipitates change in perspective
Yeah.
and grit. So yeah, there's something to be said about that.
Totally. I mean, I've
Um,
heard like, I know 9/11, we were both very young. There's not we can't I mean, I remember, getting called home from school. I remember
Mhm.
small parts of it, but it's not like but, you hear about, like, that was a time when the country kinda came together as one,
Mm.
and it's like, I feel like that is that's kind of what we're talking like, that when something crazy like that happens and there's that perspective of, it's just kinda like you just become kind of kinder and I don't know. I don't wanna speak for myself,
Yeah.
but
No, you can definitely speak for yourself, and you can speak for me too.
yeah, yeah, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just I guess I'm just
Yeah.
agreeing with you and, like, giving an example. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's super good. Shifting gears just a little bit, can you share how do I phrase this question? It's a bit of a heavy one again. But with like the Olympics, so being an Olympian, I would imagine, is something great and amazing on multiple fronts. Everybody in the world knows what an Olympian is, so in that way, like it's quite a thing. For you, can you talk me through like when you first realized, okay, I'm going to the Olympics, and then after your first Olympic Games, when those ended, the perspective shift that maybe you had on what it means to be an Olympian?
yeah, I mean, it's, not it kinda, like, is direct to with my brother, not to keep it,
Mhm.
sad
No, you're
sad and
good.
depressing, but, because I qualified, like, 10 weeks after he passed away, and, like,
Mhm.
that was, like I mean, I guess just thinking about that race, it was the Yokohama WTS, and I think if we got on the podium, we qualified, I got on the podium, and, like, it was just, like, the emotions of that it was just such an emotional like,
I can only
it's just like,
imagine.
it's
Of
hard to
course.
describe, like, put into words because like, you're just I mean, I remember, like, the day before the race, just, like, being in, my hotel room alone. We were
Mm.
all sometimes we have roommates, but by then with COVID, we got our own room and, like, just, like, crying because of my brother. Like, 10 weeks is, like, nothing.
Yeah.
I just,
Literally
like I
nothing.
was, like I don't know, I think because when, it obviously happens and you have a funeral and you go home, and then I came back to Colorado and was training for 6 weeks or whatever it was, and, my circle was so small, like, I was just seeing this, like, a few people training,
Mhm.
very, like, I have a job to do, boom, 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 and then I get to this race that was hopefully gonna qualify me, and, like, I'm around more people, it's just, like, there's more emotion, and it just really brought so it was kind of an emotional week for me, even before the race, and then, yeah, just qualifying, man, like, that was nuts. Just like that I remember, like, that last, like, mile of the run, I was in 3rd, and I knew I'd probably finish in 3rd, and just, like, it's weird because you're like it puts it like, you're happy, but there's still the sadness. So, I don't think
Mhm.
my, journey to the Olympics is, like, a normal one in that sense. So that, like,
Sure.
feeling of qualifying wasn't I probably it's probably not relatable to many thankfully, but, I
Mhm.
can like I said, I can only s I can only say from my experience. But then, like, after the Tokyo Games, yeah, I mean, it was weird, like, it just it's just was like it was weird because with triathlon, like, they have so many races like, people just keep racing the whole year, and,
Mm.
it's just, like, nonstop, man. I don't know how some of these guys just like, there are guys racing, like, a weekend after the Olympics, and it's just, like for me, it's like, I put so much into that, and I know I didn't do well at either. I
Mhm.
mean, the relays, we did well, but I know my individual races weren't good in either, but, like, it's just, like, I still put so much into that, and people just racing, 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 and I think after Tokyo, I was like, "Oh, I gotta race," because there's a WTS in Abu Dhabi in, like, the end of October or something, so I was like, "Oh, I gotta so I kinda, like, I started training for that, and, like, I remember I felt I felt off, like,
Yeah.
sick, like, I was coughing a lot, I felt weak, um, unmotivated, um, and it was like a struggle, like, not like a crazy struggle, but it was just like no I didn't feel my because usually I'm quite a motivated person, I'm excited, I have a lot of
Sure.
enthusiasm going out to train every day, but I just remember that period was just like I don't wanna go to Abu Dhabi, it's so far, but I have to, like, for some reason, I thought I had to, like, um, and just, like, trying to get back into shape because I felt like I got out of shape in Paris because it was just, like, getting trained like, I don't know, I was just it was just hard for me. It wasn't until
Sure.
I took a break after that in December and, like, went on a our friends got married and, like, we kinda did, like, a week-long vacation in Mexico between the wedding and then a few days outside of that, and it's just, like, I feel like that was, like that's what I needed. Just,
Mhm.
like just to like, I remember, like, I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll do some running out down there, like, swim in the water." Like, ocean and I brought, like, my goggles and cap and suit and stuff, and I think I went out once, and then, like, by the time, like, the 2nd or 3rd day rolled around, I'm like, "Screw this, man. I'm just gonna enjoy this vacation."
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I just, like, let go, and I just was like, "I'm not running. I'm not gonna swim. I don't want to. I wanna take a downtime." And I feel like that's when
Mhm.
I kinda started feeling myself again. Like, after that break, I was able to kinda, really unwind and, yeah, so just, like, it's a lot that goes into it. It's emotional, it's physically
Mhm.
demanding, emotionally demanding, uh, and I just think, like, it's important, after and, the Olympics, but anything like that, like, anything that you put kinda your whole life into,
Years of work, yeah.
you just gotta, like, some people can just keep going, man, and that's, more power to 'em, but for me, it's like, I just gotta, like, just blow off that steam and,
Mhm.
spend some time on the beach or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something really interesting about what you're saying that I hope gets talked about more. I'm not a professional athlete, don't pretend to be one. However, like I observe the relentless pursuit of some of these races, especially within the middle and long distance stuff. And I've talked with who Mark Allen is, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
sure. But like he has this perspective that I really appreciate. It's like, when October rolls around, you have that end of the race, like literally take off a couple months. Not like, oh yeah, my off season. And then people are like, oh yeah, I'm taking the week off. Like you can't relieve all of that stress, like truly, I don't think in a week. And there's something like when have been forced in the past to take just from doing amateur racing take like a month of just like do what I want to do, but
Yeah,
like don't force it, don't structure it because the mind is so powerful. I feel like, and if you're not giving that a break, let alone the physical body, then you're gonna run yourself into the ground. And I think for you, man, like I don't imagine you had a whole lot of opportunity to mourn. Like you said, you went to the funeral, and then 10 days later, you've or 10 weeks later, you've got this qualifying race. Then you're going to do the Olympics, and then you come back. I'm sure your body needed some time to just like
totally.
step back and mourn as well.
Yeah, and, like yeah, no, totally, and, like, I went home after Tokyo to New Jersey and was there for but, that wasn't really, like, as fucked up sorry, as messed up as it is to say, like,
You're good.
um, this is kinda but, like, being around my family wasn't easy at that time, if that makes sense,
Mm,
because like, they're,
yeah.
at first, it's, like, the only people you wanna be around, but, um after Tokyo, I mean, they obviously they didn't go because of COVID and all that, but, like so being around them was just, like they didn't experience what I experienced there, and, like, it was just, like, a lot to go home even, like, I didn't feel like I got that, like, time to just release like you're talking about, so it wasn't until I
Mm-hmm.
just I was just with some, like, a small group of friends or whatever, it ended up being just Molly and I the second half of the trip, like, that was, like, the most relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, I understand. I pretty much disowned my family actually for several years afterwards because I felt there. I mean, there was multiple reasons, like you said with your past. Like, there's crazy stuff. We had some crazy stuff too, and the only way I figured out in the just kind of my immaturity was to I could have been nicer to them, but I literally disowned them and kind of ran away from the
Yeah.
situation for a while to kind of figure out who I was.
Yeah.
And I think that stems a lot from sometimes it's really hard for our family to relate to us,
Yeah.
or to each other in that moment because we all deal with pain in such a different way. And then I mean, no one knew in your family, I would assume, what it was like to be an Olympian, to go qualify, do that, and like just all of that build up. And then you have this incredible crash
Yeah.
given your situation and the actual being an Olympian. So I can only imagine, like, I
Yeah.
think sometimes, yeah, we just need that. We need to go get in the woods and, or get on a beach
Yeah.
and just like
Totally.
spread out.
Yeah. Just like be
Yeah.
alone sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like your definition of success has changed over the past, I mean, like 8, 5, 6, how many years now since you started like in this as a profession, but even outside of triathlon, like has success changed for you?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think my perspective has changed a lot, even since Paris just a few months ago. To be honest, going to that race, I was so obsessed with getting a medal.
Mm,
It's all I cared about. Um, it's like, and that's really what I was chasing. And I think after failing, um, coming up way short, um,
mhm,
I think I just left and I was just like, it took some time and reflection and all that. But like my mindset now is just like, if I'm going to keep racing and doing this, I just want to focus on, uh, improving and like
mhm,
improving as an athlete, like improving, like, because to describe it, like, I was just like, I need to get in this shape. Like, I need to do this run workout, this bike workout, swim. I need to hit this shape, get my
mm,
legs need to be ready to win. And like, I think in some ways that's like, that's true. But you look at the three guys that medaled were like the three most consistent guys in the last, 3 years or whatever since the last
mhm.
Olympics. And they're just great athletes, like, they're not perfect. I think that's another perspective thing that needed to change of, like, you can't chase perfection, you have to chase, growth and improvement, and that's just where
Mhm.
my mindset is right now, like and, like, speaking of Indian Wells, like, I know I'm not gonna have a perfect race, like, I'm gonna have this bike for a month. I didn't have a time trial bike. Um, it's my first 70.3. It's been a long year. I did the Olympics and, I just ran a half marathon. Like, it is so far from the ideal build up to a race, but honestly, that's
Mhm.
fine. All I'm chasing is like growth over the next month and showing up to the start line better than I am today. And
Yeah.
hopefully go there and, hopefully enjoy it, like, and like have a positive experience because of that mindset, because of knowing things are going to go wrong, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna, you know, who knows? But I know I'm not gonna have a perfect
Yeah, so much
race,
could happen.
and I think that's like a really healthy mindset to have. So yeah,
For there's a lot of people that don't have that mindset, and I think that there are quote unquote two ways to that monetary success. Like one of them is the relentless pursuit of it, like Kenny you were talking about before. I got to get that medal. That's my motivation. And I think that people can get there, but it's often very at the expense of relationships, at the expense of mental health, physical health, whatever. But to have that other mindset, I think, is one that is increasingly becoming known as the key to like longevity and just life in general,
yeah,
even if you look at life that way outside of sport. So, do you think that it's possible without experiencing what you experienced and having that other motivation? Do you think it's possible for people to adopt the latter, the longevity mindset
yeah, totally. I
earlier
mean,
on?
honestly, I actually think for most people, it's probably easier than me. And this might come off as, you know, cocky or arrogant, but like my goal was literally to be the best in the world.
Hmm.
Sorry to tell most people, like, you're not gonna do that. Like, if you're an age group triathlete just getting into the sport, how like 38, whatever, I don't know, like just whatever age.
You're telling me I can't be an Olympian in 2028,
I mean, I'm
Morgan?
not telling you anything, but but I
Just
it's
kidding.
almost like you almost have to have that mindset as like for most people. But for me, it's like it almost is harder, I think, when you're when you could taste. taste it, you know? Like,
Mhm.
I could taste the
You could taste
medal,
the
you know?
gold.
Like, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
days if they had a race on another day, I could have medaled it, you know? Like, who knows? Like, I really believe that, and I continue to believe that, and um, so so I think it's actually for someone who's trying to, you know, be at the peak of the peak, it's like it's maybe even harder than someone who's just trying to, you know,
Mhm.
finish their first Ironman or, you know, break 5 hours for a half or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Um,
Mhm.
not to, you know, sound cocky or arrogant, but I just think that's
Yeah. No, 100%. So for your peers, for some people that like have that other mindset and they can taste the gold, do you advise them to like, hey, like look, I've been down this path. If maybe someone just a few years younger than you who really has a lot of promise and
yeah,
they could score that.
I think I think that's totally I think it's okay to want those things for one. Like I think it's healthy. It's great motivation. You know, wanting that end goal is it's not going to go away, but it's just it's almost like how are you going to get there? And like you
Mm,
said, that longevity, that long-term approach of, you know, self-improvement, but also like realizing that things are not going to be perfect along the way. There's going to be hiccups. You're going to miss some training. You're going to get sick. It's going to be smart to take a day off.
yeah.
Um, that is the healthy mindset. So it's almost like marrying. I mean, I actually don't have the answer because I wish I did, but I think,
We're still figuring it out.
yeah, exactly. But I think being able to have that like always having that growth mindset is gonna help you. It's there's no way it's gonna hurt you. So
Mm,
I would say go like think about make a list of things you can improve on. How are you gonna do them? Uh, and you know have those goals. You know maybe write them down, but I would say day to day the goal is to improve and the go and
yeah.
be and not just improve, but be specific about what you want to improve on. You know like
Mm.
uh, it's not just like I want to get better today by meditating. It's like, why am I doing this? What like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I gotcha.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, the specifics are really good. Like I think that matters. There's there's something to be said about the power of I don't want to say necessarily manifestation because that brings a lot of like Eastern religions into it, but the power of writing down your goals and being specific about them and then them being at the forefront of your mind and then you're living your life with kind of that in mind. You know, if you want to be an Amazon driver and you know, you got to make plans to do that. You got to go apply or whatever. So like writing down
Yeah,
those little things, like that's what affords the success because you seek opportunity that would lead you in that direction and people who help support that goal or that dream or whatever it is.
totally.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you, and I'll let you go because I'm sure you got a lot of stuff to unpack and
Yeah,
things to do.
thanks.
Um, for someone who may have just like lost somebody, they've gone through hard times, or it doesn't even have to be necessarily death, some kind of tragedies befalled them, and they're trying to figure out like how to make it through the first year of that thing because that can be really tough. What is something from your experience that you have found to be helpful in just being able to not only survive but like thrive a little bit and get back to a sense of like okay like I'm gonna be okay and belief.
Yeah, I think so like when my brother passed away, it was March 1st. And then the qualification race was sometime in May, like you know, whatever, mid-May. So
Mm.
I remember talking to my coach, and he's just like, go home for a month. Like you need to face this. Uh So I spent a month at home, like, and I barely trained. You know, I'd go out for a run or maybe a bike ride, more as like a mental clarity. But I really wasn't training. I really was just, it was mental. It was mental for me, you know, running, it relaxes me. Getting out for a nice bike ride will relax me. Um, so I think just like, you got to face it, man. Like Like, you gotta let it. You gotta face it. You gotta. I spent a month at home, and then I still made the Olympic team. You know, I only really trained for. I was training before that, and then kind of took a month off, and then I had 6 weeks to get ready, and then I qualified. So like, I don't. I think it would have been harder to qualify if I had forced it and just gone
Mm,
home for a week, done the funeral thing, and then been like, I gotta get back and train more. Like, it took time for me to, and I obviously still wasn't fully over it, but I think just like being able to face it, full on, uh, like early on, it's really gonna help. You
yeah.
don't need to,
Great advice, man.
yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, you don't need to sweep it under the rug. Well, Morgan, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I know
Yeah,
you got a lot going on, but greatly appreciate you being on and taking the opportunity to share with some pretty heavy stuff. All the best to you. Well, I'm sure me and everybody else can be checking out Indian Wells just for fun. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, dude, it's
Thanks,
gonna be
man.
fun.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Morgan for coming on the pod and letting me dive into some just not easy subjects to talk about. Losing someone is a horrible thing. Losing anyone that we love or care for is a horrible thing. And to be able to talk about that in an open forum really means a lot to me because I think it's something that is uncomfortable to talk about, but should be talked about more. So really appreciate Morgan for coming on and sharing so much that he did. When asked about advice that he could give for people that are going through hard times, I think the big thing that he was saying is take a step back and take a breather, do things for mental clarity, but not necessarily for structure. Just taking time off to allow the mind, body, and spirit to rest is very important, even on a weekly basis, I'd say. So if you made it to this point in the podcast, though, just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could subscribe, like, and comment, that really helps us grow. If you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, if you could follow, subscribe, comment, give a review, any and all those things continue to help grow the podcast. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can check out the description, show notes, where we have a link to the stupidquestions.show website. And without further ado, I guess I will end it here. Yeah, really appreciate you guys being here, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.